Hello everyone and welcome to my channel where we are reading the Bible in a year. We are reading the entire Bible in a year and we have made it to day 62. Day 62 where we are still in Matthew. We're going to finish the rest of Matthew 9 starting at verse 18 throughout Leviticus 5 through 6 and then Proverbs 21. All right. So going to start on Matthew. If I can get back to it. No. Matthew, where are you? Where did it go? Here we go. All right. Matthew 9, starting at verse 18. A girl restored to life and a woman healed. While he was saying these things to them, suddenly a leader of the synagogue came in and knelt before him, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come lay your hand on her and she will live." And Jesus got up and followed him with his disciples. Then suddenly a woman who had been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years, came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be made well. Jesus turned and seeing her, he said, "Take heart, daughter, your faith has made you well." And instantly the woman was made well. When Jesus came to the leader's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a commotion, he said, "Go away, for the girl is not dead but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But when the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took her by the hand, and the girl got up. And the report of this spread throughout that district. Jesus heals two blind men. As Jesus went on from there, two blind men followed him, crying loudly, "Have mercy upon us, Son of David." When he entered the house, two blind men came to him. And Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith, let it be done to you." And their eyes were open. Then Jesus sternly ordered them, "See that no one knows of this." But they went away and spread the news about him throughout that district. Jesus heals one who was mute. After they had gone away, a demoniac who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the one who had been mute spoke. And the crowds were amazed and said, "Never has anything like this been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "By the ruler of the demons, he cast out the demons." The harvest is great, the laborers few. Then Jesus went about the cities and villages, searching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." All right. So Jesus is healing people. He's going throughout healing people. You know, the girl restored to life. But before he gets to the girl brings the girl back to life, a woman touches, and this is a very, very powerful story. Like, she touched just the hem of his garment. So imagine somebody walking. They didn't touch you. They grabbed your cloak. You can't feel that, but he felt that. He felt that because she had tried everything. This woman, and who knows what this woman was going through with this issue of blood, because if you had an issue of blood back then, you were unclean. When women were on their cycle, they were unclean back then. They were supposed to just sit out. So if you got this issue of blood every day, nobody wants to touch you. No one wants to be around you. This woman probably was lonely. Who knows what this woman was going through, and who wants to bleed every day for an eternity? No one. And she was desperate, and she just believed, like, this is my only hope. And she touched him, and he felt it. All right. He turns around, and let me see. Jesus turned around, and seeing her, he said, "Take heed, daughter, your faith has made you well." She had that much faith that she knew, oh, my eyes itching, if she touched him, that she would be made well. She said that to herself. So, moving on, Jesus heals two blind men. He tells them not to go and say anything, but they go and say something anyway. So, yeah. So the scene basically incorporates both a physical and spiritual transformation. Like the disciples, the blind men, two of them called disciples, called out for Jesus' powerful mercy. They recognize Jesus' identity as one who represents God, represent God's just reign. And they approach him with reverence. So they refer to him as the son of David. They know about the lineage. They know who he is, basically. They know who Jesus is. If you say something, like, you already know who this is. You know about him. You know about the prophecy, basically. Yet despite calling Jesus Lord and receiving healing, they disobey his commandment for silence. Why does he command this? Disciples need time for fornication and learning so they bear witness faithfully. So, but they just immediately went out. So they need time to like retreat and form and learning so that they, so they bear witness faithfully. So they witness the account or what they endure faithfully. All right. But they were just so happy. So he performs another exorcism, and starting at verse 32, he heals the person who was mute. And not only was he mute, he had a demon, so the right here it says the leaders do not recognize God as the source of Jesus' ministry. And again, like I said, I would have researched this, but what got me, and if you notice when I read it, it said, but the Pharisees said, by the ruler of the demons, he cast out demons. So they just thinking that he is of. Now, I just understand why the Pharisees ain't got it yet, but they're seeing this and they're like, oh, he's the ruler of demons, and he's not only is the ruler of demons, but he's casting out demons. Okay. So they don't recognize God as the source of Jesus' ministry for whatever reason. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Like, I don't have but a few shepherds or leaders. But we have a great harvest, but I don't have anyone to, I don't have any laborers. I don't have anyone to go out and labor and harvest. So he needs workers. He needs people to go out and witness to other people his great works. All right. So yeah, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Like, there's plenty of people out there, but there aren't enough people working for God's and spreading his word. So we're gonna move on to Leviticus. There I go. Want to say Exodus. Exodus must have clearly have been. I had been reading that a little bit longer than I was Genesis, I feel like. But anyway, all right. So Leviticus, we're reading Leviticus. I believe it's 5 and 6. Yep. So when any of you sin in that you have heard a public adjuration to testify, and though able to testify as one who has seen or learned of the matter does not speak up, you are subject to punishment. Let me read that again. Though able to testify, so if you able to testify because you've seen or learned of the matter, but you do not speak up, you are subject to punishment. Or when any of you touch any unclean thing, whether the carcass of an unclean beast, or the carcass of unclean livestock, or the carcass of unclean swarming things, and unaware of this, you have become unclean and are guilty. When you touch human uncleanness, any uncleanness by which one can become unclean and unaware of it, when you come to know it, you shall be guilty. Or when any of you utter a loud or a rash oath for a bad or good purpose, whatever people utter an oath and are unaware of it, when you come to know it, you shall in any of these be guilty. When you realize your guilt in any of these, you shall confess the sin that you have committed, and you shall bring it to the Lord as your penalty for the sin that you have committed. A female from the flock, a sheep or a goat as a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement on your behalf for your sin. But if you cannot afford a sheep, you shall bring it to the Lord as your penalty for the sin that you have committed. 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. You shall bring them to the priest, who shall offer first the one for the sin offering, wringing its head at the nape without severing it. He shall sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering on the side of the altar, where the rest of the blood shall be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And the second dove he shall offer for burnt offering according to the regulation. Thus the priest shall make atonement on your behalf for the sin that you have committed, and you shall be forgiven. But if you cannot afford 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, you shall bring as your offering for the sin that you have committed 1/10 of an ephah of choice flour for the sin offering. You shall not put oil on it or lay frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. You shall bring it to the priest, and the priest shall scoop up a handful of its memorial portion and turn this into smoke on the altar. With the offerings by fire to the Lord, it is a sin offering. Thus the priest shall make atonement on your behalf for whichever of these sins you have committed, and you shall be forgiven. Like the grain offering, the rest shall be for the priest. Offerings with restitution. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when any of you commit a trespass and sin unintentionally in any of the holy things of the Lord, you shall bring as your guilt offering to the Lord a ram without blemish from the flock, convertible into silver by the sanctuary shekel. It is a guilt offering, and you shall make restitution for the holy thing in which you were remiss, and shall add 1/5 of it and give it to the priest. The priest shall make atonement on your behalf with the ram of the guilt offering, and you shall be forgiven. If any of you sin without knowing it, doing any of the things by the Lord's commandments ought not to be done, you have incurred guilt and are subject to punishment. You shall bring to the priest a ram without blemish from the flock, or the equivalent, as a guilt offering, and the priest shall make atonement on your behalf for the error that you committed unintentionally, and you shall be forgiven. It is a guilt offering. You have incurred guilt before the Lord. All right, again, with the offerings of restitution and things like that. So these are the offerings. But like I've said before, Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice, so we no longer have to do these things. All right. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when any of you sin, this is chapter 6, and commit a trespass against the Lord by deceiving a neighbor or a matter of the deposit or pledge or by robbery, or if you have defrauded a neighbor or have found something lost and lied about it, if you swear falsely regarding any of the various things that one may do and sin thereby, when you have sinned and realize your guilt, and would restore what you took by robbery or fraud, or the deposit that was committed to you, or the lost thing that you found, or anything else about which you have sworn falsely, you shall repay the principal amount and shall add 1/5 guilt, 1/5 to it. You shall pay it to its owner when you realize your guilt. And you shall bring the priest, it's the priest as your guilt offering to the Lord, and ram without blemish from the flock, or its equivalent for a guilty offering. The priest shall make atonement on your behalf before the Lord, and you shall be forgiven for any of the things that may do and incur guilt thereby. Instructions concerning sacrifices. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the ritual for burnt offering. The burnt offering itself shall remain on the hearth upon the altar all night until the morning, while the fire on the altar shall keep burning. The priest shall put on his linen vestments. After putting on his linen undergarments next to his body, he shall take up the ashes to which the fire has reduced the burnt offering on the altar, and place them beside the altar. Then he should take off his vestments and put on other garments, and carry the ashes out to a clean place outside the camp. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning. It shall not go out. Every morning the priest shall add wood to it, lay out burnt offering on it, and turn into smoke the fat pieces of the offering of well-being. A perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar. It shall not go out. This is the ritual of grain offering. The sons of Aaron shall offer it before the Lord in front of the altar. They shall take from it a handful of choice flour and oil of the grain offering, with all the frankincense that is on the offering. They shall turn its memorial portion into smoke on the altar as a pleasing odor to the Lord. Aaron and his sons shall eat what is left of it, and it shall be eaten as unleavened cakes in a holy place in the court of the tent of meeting. They shall eat it. It shall not be baked with leaven. I have given it as their portion of my offerings by fire. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Every male among the descendants of Aaron shall eat of it as their perpetual due throughout your generation. From the Lord's offerings by fire, anything that touches them shall become holy. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, this is an offering that the Lord and Aaron his son shall offer to the Lord on the day when he is anointed. 1/10 of an ephah of choice flour is regular offering, half of it on the morning and half in the evening. It shall be made with oil on a griddle. You shall bring it well salt as a grain offering of baked pieces. You shall present it as a pleasing odor to the Lord. And so the priest anointed from among Aaron's descendants as a successor shall prepare it. It is the Lord's, a perpetual due, to be turned entirely into smoke. Every grain offering of the priest shall be wholly burned. It shall not be eaten. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the ritual of the sin offering. The sin offering shall be slaughtered before the Lord at the spot where the burnt offering is slaughtered. It is most holy. The priest who offers it as a sin offering shall eat of it. It shall be eaten in a holy place in the court of the tent of meeting. Whatever touches its flesh shall become holy, and when any of its blood is spattered on a garment, you shall wash the bespattered part of the holy place in a holy place, in the earthen vessel which it was boiled shall be broken. But if it is boiled in a bronze vessel, that shall be scoured and rinsed in water. Every male among the priests shall eat of it. It is most holy, but no sin offering shall be eaten from which any blood is brought into the tent of meeting. For atonement, blood is for atonement in the holy place. It shall be burned with fire. All right. So we're going to still continue on with guilt offerings and rituals. So guilt offering, and then I think we have next the ordination, and then priesthood inaugurated, and then we'll go on to Aaron's sons. There we go. I'm just trying to make sure. So they're still about rituals or whatever. He's still, God is still talking to Moses on what to do for certain things going on. I'm just hoping it's not going to be as hard to read as the rituals for offerings, because my goodness. All right, so now we're on 21. All right, Proverbs 21. Sorry, I just audibly said 21. The king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it whenever he will. All these are right in the sight of the Lord, of the doer, but the Lord weighs the heart. To do the righteous and just, to do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the lamp of the wicked, are sin. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. But everyone who is hasty comes only to one, is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death. The violence of the wicked will sweep them away, because they refuse to do what is just. The way of the guilty is crooked, but the conduct of the pure is right. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a contentious wife. The souls of the wicked desire evil. Their neighbors find no mercy in their eyes. When a scoffer is punished, the simple become wiser. When the wise are instructed, they increase in knowledge. The righteous one observes the house of the wicked. He casts the wicked down to ruin. If you close your ear to the cry of the poor, you will cry out and not be heard. A gift in secret averts anger, and a concealed bribe in the bosom, strong wrath. When justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but dismay to the evildoers. Whoever wanders from the way of understanding will rest in the assembly of the dead. Whoever loves pleasure will suffer want. Whoever loves wine and oil will not be rich. The wicked is a ransom for the righteous, and the faithless for the upright. It's better to live in a desert land than with a contentious and fretful wife. Precious treasure remains in the house of the wise, but the fool devours it. Whoever pursues righteousness and kindness will find life and honor. One wise person went up against a city of warriors and brought down the stronghold in which they trusted. To watch over mouth and tongue is to keep out of trouble. The proud, haughty person named scoffer acts with arrogant pride. The craving of the lazy person is fatal, for lazy hands refuse to labor. All day long the wicked cover, but the righteous give and do not hold back. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when bought with evil intent? A false witness will perish, but a good listener will testify successfully. The wicked put on a bold face, but the upright give thought to their ways. No wisdom, no understanding, no counsel can avail against the Lord. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. The favor is better than silver or gold. The rich and the poor have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. The clever see danger and hide. Oh, Lord, I'm reading on through 22. Done. All right. I got carried away. Tell I'm tired. But anyway, so that ends Proverbs 21. Let me try to point out a few. Watch over mouth and tongue to keep off its trouble. Watch what you say, because sometimes talking too much will get you in trouble. All right? Everything doesn't need to be said. There's a time to be quiet. Listen, because talking too much will sure enough get you in trouble. The craving of a lazy person is fatal, for lazy hands refuse to labor. Lazy hands, lazy people don't want to work. And guess what? If you don't work, you say don't work, don't eat. If you're not working, if I don't work for this, I don't get the money to buy things. I don't get the money to eat. So it's not good being lazy and laying around all day. Things will pile up on you. You know, your house gets dirty. People don't eat. You don't get your clothes washed. Okay? So the wicked will put on a bold face, but the upright give thought to their ways. A lot of times someone who is wicked, or some people will just sit in their own wrong and don't realize they're wrong. But sometimes when we are convicted, meaning the upright, they give thought to their ways. Like, I'm giving thought to doing the right thing. Also, if I do the wrong thing, I am convicted. That is what I'm taking that verse to mean. Let's see. 29. They don't give me more for that one. Okay. Nope, they don't give me more for that one. But that's what I'm thinking that means. All right. Well, that's the end of that one. That is the end of day 62. I will see you tomorrow for day 63. I thought I was going to just go ahead and record day 63 tonight, but I am kind of tired and I have other work that I need to do and other cleaning that I need to do. So with that, until tomorrow, I want you to be blessed and farewell.
Bye-bye.